Hey, today we're going to be talking about the cross. That makes sense as you're thinking about Easter, right, to talk about the cross. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. You're going to need a Bible. You're going to need to open up to the book of Luke. Luke chapter 23 is where we're going to be pretty much the entire day today. We're going to be zeroing in on one particular story that comes from the whole account of the cross of Jesus, and I'm just excited for the day. Well, not long after I turned 16 years of age, I was living in Waverly, Tennessee, my little town where I grew up, and so I got the chance to drive down to Gulfport, Mississippi to visit my sister. She was kind of a newlywed, and so I'm going to go down there and see her. As I'm driving south down through the state of Mississippi on my way to see my sister, I hit the wall of fatigue, right? I mean, I'm done, and I'm doing everything that I can to stay awake. So I'm blaring the radio, and I'm 16. I got a car, so it's got a really good stereo in it. So I'm wearing that thing out. I've got the AC running wide open, but it is a losing battle as I'm driving down deeper and deeper into the state of Mississippi. Now, what should I have done at this moment? What should I have done? I should have pulled over, I should have stopped, and I should have taken a nap. Do you think that that is what 16-year-old me does? Here was my solution. My solution was drive faster, you'll get there sooner. That was my solution. And it made perfect sense to me as a 16-year-old kid. So I speed up, you all, and by the time I get to Stone County, Mississippi, which is the county just north of Harrison County, which is where Gulfport is, as I come into Stone County, Mississippi, I'm driving 90 miles an hour. Yeah, so I look in my rearview mirror, and at the great distance, as far back as I can see, blue light, blue light, blue light, blue light. And my first thought was, surely he's not here for me. And then it got me, well, surely he is here for me. And I thought about all kinds of things. I thought I could duck off on one of these little dirt roads, and, I could, try to lose him. And I thought, no, I'm not going to get into that. Maybe he just won't pull me over. He pulls me over. He says, boy, what were you thinking? Which is a fair question. And so I told him exactly the truth. I just told him what happened. I left really early this morning, driving a long way, probably didn't, anticipate well enough what it meant to drive that far, and I'm just out of reach of where I'm supposed to be, now just literally less than an hour from where I'm going. And he looks at me, and he thinks a moment, and he says to me, if I hear your license plate number on the radio again, I'm going to get on there and I'm going to tell them to throw you under the jail. Do you understand me? Yes, sir, I understand you very clearly. He hands me back my license. He sticks out his hand and shakes my hand. And he says, have a nice day. Now, I just want to ask you this. Did I deserve a speeding ticket that day? Oh, yeah. Did I deserve a trip to the judge that day? Yes, that's what I deserved. Did I deserve for them to hang on to my driver's license so that I would have to come back all the way from Tennessee, all the way back to Mississippi, maybe 2-3 weeks in the future? Did I deserve that? Yes, I did. You know what I learned that day? I learned that when you don't get what you deserve, it's a beautiful thing. Right? Now, you might be wondering right now, what does this have to do with the cross? Because you said we were going to be talking about the cross today. Here's what this has to do with the cross, okay? I would submit that the cross delivers what I do not deserve. The cross of Jesus Christ delivers to me what I do not deserve. That's what the cross is all about, right? Because Jesus' mission on the cross was to make a relationship with God possible for people who don't deserve it. And I would submit to you, that's really good news, because the work of Jesus isn't tied to our track record. So, If on the one hand, you're a person with a pretty shady past, well, it's good news for you, right? Jesus' work on the cross isn't tied to your track record. On the other hand, if you're thinking of yourself as a person who's pretty squared away, well, Jesus' invitation into heaven isn't tied to your track record. It's entirely on him, and it's not on you. Now, I want you to think about God for just a moment, and because this is important why I would say that. When you think about God, what are we thinking about? Well, I would submit to you, the Bible teaches us that God is the picture of perfection. He is holiness personified. He is beauty personified. He's all of those things and far, far more. We're going to get into that a little bit later. Now kind of come back and sort of flex back on your own resume. How do you measure up to a God with those kinds of credentials? If heaven is where God lives, then what makes me think that I can earn my way into his presence with my resume? When I was in college, I got this really kind of cool opportunity. So I'm working with a group called Mountain Outreach, and Mountain Outreach is an organization that builds homes for people who are in need in the Appalachian Mountains. And it had kind of captured some press and so forth, and had gotten kind of gotten some local notoriety, and it was sort of enjoying its 15 minutes of fame. And so the college president comes to me and he says, David, I'm going to go to New York City. I've received an invitation to the New York Yacht Club to do a presentation about the work of Cumberland College, where I was in school. And he said, I would like for you to come and do a presentation on Mountain Outreach. I think that what we're doing there would really connect with the people who will be at this lunch. I was like, trip to New York City? Yeah, I'll do it. So I'm from Waverly, Tennessee, right? I had never been to a place bigger really than Williamsburg, Kentucky, where I was in school. So, big city is not exactly my history. So a chance to go to New York City, all expenses paid? Absolutely. So I'm in New York City, y'all, wandering around like Gomer Pyle. I mean, it is unbelievable. I'm like, golly, look at all these buildings. That's me, right? So the day comes and we go to the New York Yacht Club. Now, if you don't know anything about the New York Yacht Club, they kind of run the America's Cup, the big yacht race. This is a big deal. There's money and power beyond what I could even imagine represented in this space. So we get to the door. There's security there to make sure that we're not just riffraff off the street, which we were, but that's okay. We got in, right? And I'm in the lobby of the New York Yacht Club, and you all, it's everything that you imagine you could imagine it would be. It is mahogany paneling, it is rich, deep carpet, it is model yachts all over the space. These model yachts are huge, and they're all over the space, and they're models of all the different yachts who have won the America's Cup. And I'm just taking it in as I stroll among the leather upholstery. And I'm looking at this one model yacht, and the president of the university, of the college, comes up behind me, and this is what he whispers in my ear. He says, David, I want you to enjoy this because you'll never be allowed into this room ever again for the rest of your life. And you know what I thought at that moment? I thought, he is right. I will never be allowed into this room ever again for the rest of my life, okay? Why not? I mean, I'm a good guy. You all, here's just the bottom line. I do not have the resume to get into the New York Yacht Club. I just don't. Now, if it's that hard to get into the New York Yacht Club, can you imagine how exclusive the throne room of heaven must be? And I would submit to you that you all, this is the very first step toward the gospel that a person can take. The very first step toward the gospel that we can take is to simply admit, I'm a sinner and I've offended God. You know that moment when you were dealing with your spouse and you disrespected your spouse, even though your marriage is a holy estate established by God himself? You know that happened in that moment? You demonstrated your disrespect for God. You know what happened in that moment when you saw that person from another country or from another race and you thought negatively toward that person? You just denied in that moment that that person is fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of God, and you offended God with that. And I would submit to you all, those are the kinds of things that are on our resume. And that invitation extends out to anyone who asks, because Jesus hung on the cross bearing the penalty of your sin and mine. And that's the beauty of the cross. The cross delivers what I don't deserve.